With softening relations between the US and Cuba, banking-wise, how compatible is Cuba with the rest of the world?
There is, of course, a compatibility there. They do have a banking system. They are executing international transactions, just not with the United States because of the sanctions and the embargo. They would have no issues at all in dealing with international banking.
Cuba has had its problems with currency and, of course, flirted with dollarization. What way do you think it should go?
That's going to remain to be seen once we see the initial investment pick up in Cuba. They do have a rather complicated exchange system at the current point. We've seen this with remittances that go into Cuba or people that travel there and try and exchange money. So they're going to have to reform their monetary system once the opening does occur.
Cuba currently attracts around $500 million in foreign direct investment, but this only accounts for just 1% of GDP. So how do you see the landscape of the Cuban economy changing?
Well, again, and this is all prefaced with if and when there is the lifting of the embargo, I think there would be a significant change because you would see a lot of initial investment in infrastructure, which would, of course, bring a lot of capital to the island nation. I think it would slowly over time bring a rather considerable dramatic change.
In the Heritage Foundation's Index of Economic Freedom, Cuba ranks 177th out of 178, ahead only of North Korea. But the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimates that Cuba could potentially attract as much foreign capital as the Dominican Republic, which currently receives $17 billion. So what's the major challenges the country faces?
The major challenges, of course, will be a reform of the economic and again, the judicial system, because at this point in time, there are very many questions as to legal protections for doing business in Cuba as a foreigner. For example, correspondent banking is now allowed between Cuba and the U.S. However, no U.S. institutions are going to open an account with a Cuban financial institution until they can see what type of protections do they have and how is the system going to work.
Surely corruption will be a major problem for the country moving forward.
Well, I don't know that corruption would be any bigger a problem for Cuba than it would be for any other nation at this point in time. It's going to depend upon what type of changes they do make in their systems and their infrastructure.
Do you think the tourism sector will plummet? Because, of course, a large draw to the country is the sense that it's trapped in sort of a past world with its classic cars and that sort of thing.
No, I think actually the tourism industry would benefit. If we go back 50 years, it was a very popular destination from the U.S., particularly here as a starting off point from Miami or Key West, and that interest still exists. They may have some drawbacks because the infrastructure is dated. However, it is an island with very beautiful beaches, a very interesting culture, and I think people are very interested in that.
So finally, Cuba, the next frontier of global business?
Yes, in some sense. I mean, again, if the embargo is lifted and we do see this investment coming from outside into their infrastructure and help bringing them into the 21st century, then I think we are seeing a possibly bright future.